and welcome to another Mark 1 in the community video. And this time again we will be looking at another Focus Mark 1 1.6 Zetec 5-door manual. But this one really is quite interesting. It comes in quite an unusual colour that you may not see a Mark 1 have very often these days. It certainly wasn't back then. I've never seen one in the flesh with this colour. So this is quite an interesting one. And this car has been presented to me by a man called Joshua, who bought this car a couple of years ago now, 2.5 years ago, from a friend of his mother's for £120 because the car had been standing for a couple of years. So let's take a look at this car. Now, as we can see here, this is an X-Reg example, so we're talking about a pre-facelift example, the original look Mark 1 with the indicators in the front bumper instead of integral within the headlights, plastic sill covers, which I can't stand, and a few little bits and pieces here and there that are just a little bit different, but not that much different. It's exactly the same car, just a few little cosmetic touches here and there. And this is how the car was presented to him when he first saw it in January 2021. Now, Joshua bought this car on the basis of it being a project and learning more about cars, because his dad's very much into cars, more than I suspect he was at a younger age. So he's learning the ropes, and he thought that this would be a really good car to learn on. And quite frankly, Josh, you've basically hit the nail on the head in terms of a perfect project car, because a Mark 1, I say we're all biased here, but a Mark 1 Focus this age is perfect. It's not too overcomplicated, but it's reliable enough when you get it going, and it will give you enough motivation to do more on it and to improve it. And that's exactly what has happened with this car. We'll say, just a little bit of a spoiler for everyone watching this. Joshua's dad is a bit of a car person, and he currently has a Vauxhall Carlton 1992, so that would be a Mark II version. I don't know much about Vauxhalls, but that would be a Mark II, and I believe a very late one, because I think they finished in 93, 94. So that's quite an interesting car in itself. But it would be a fantastic project car, he thought, to buy and to learn the ropes, and his dad can show him the ropes in terms of getting his hand dirty with cars and just learning more and more. And you know, that's exactly what it's all about. I think a father-son bonding over cars is just something quite special. And again, with your kids, if you have kids, learning to get them into cars at an early age, you know, it's one of those amazing things. If they get into them at an early age, they're more likely to carry on the interest as well. And I think most of us can relate to that. I have to give credit to you, Josh. You've organised all these photos brilliantly, so my work is half done. I've literally just got to put all the pieces together in this video. And as we can see here, these are some of the photos he took when he actually bought the car. And that's a really good thing, because a lot of people, when you're buying a car, you get sort of stuck in the moment of actually how the car is, and there's a lot of stress going through your mind of, should I buy it? Really, am I going to buy it? Oh, goodness me, what have I got myself in for? And there's all sorts of emotions going around when you're buying a car, and taking photos is actually something that a lot of people forget. Certainly when I bought Project Beatrix, the 45, I wasn't actually going to do a video. I was that sort of like, do I know what I'm taking on? Blown head gasket and all the other problems. I'm like, do I really know what I'm taking on? But I did a video because I'm a YouTuber. I suddenly remembered I'm a YouTuber, got to do a video. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done anything. I wouldn't have took any photos or videos whatsoever. So taking photos when you first buy a car is quite important, and it's a really nice history stamp. I just wish I'd done that with my Mark 1 when I bought it. But this is some of the photos. I mean, the car's very mossy, been stood for a couple of years, and it's very easy for algae and moss to grow along the door window rubbers and on the trim strips along the doors. The headlights have gone yellow and cloudy. Which is all repairable and washable. You know, there's nothing else. You know, wet sand the headlights. The interior is quite messy. The engine bay is quite honest but dry and dusty in places. Probably there may have been some leaks, but this is the slightly early version of the cam cover on the Sigma engine, the Zetec SE as it was known in its first offering, or the Zetec S sometimes in the Ford Fiesta Mark IV. It's quite an honest engine bay, and there's not much differences to the later ones. The only exception is a little valve on the fuel basically rail going to the engine. I'm not quite sure what that valve actually really does. It doesn't make any difference as far as I can see, but that's the only real difference. A couple of the labels are slightly different, but really that's it. It's a very honest engine bay, and that's exactly what you want to see when you go to view a Mark 1. Dry but dusty is the word of the day. And then we have some very dusty alloys, but then again, you know, I've seen quite a few Mark 1s with dusty wheels, and it takes a few seconds to clean, but yeah, the build-up can sometimes actually corrode the alloys. Zetec alloys in particular, and ST 170 alloys for some reason are very bad at corroding when brake dust builds up on them, especially in the corners where the paint starts flaking off. But absolutely tidy example. There's a few crunches in the wing, but the wings can be changed. You know, if you get a dent in a wing, it's absolutely fine. It's the rest of the body you have to worry about if you get dents, because then that's not exactly a bolt-on and off job. It's basically you got to go to the body shop, have a professional look at that. Obviously, it needed a jump start because the battery was probably goosed as usual. But very much a very honest car. Now, in this picture, I think we have some broken wing mirror action. They can rust along the door at the bottom of the door mirrors as well. It's quite a common fault. The leather interior looks really nice, and it's a massive plus point on these early cars. And Josh has also mentioned that these do not come with airbags, and that is absolutely correct. Some of the leather seats did not come with airbags before the facelift. If you have a facelift Mark 1 with the original leather interior, you will have airbags within the leather seats, and you have heated elements. You may not get either airbags or heated elements in the earlier pre-facelift seats like these. But the interior is just honest. That's what you want to see, and he managed to get it back home. And obviously the itch that you have to have when you buy a new car is you instantly want to clean it to oblivion, including a lovely snow foam. Wow. You know what I love about a snow foam, and I will show you these shots here show this exactly how it is. Snow foaming is great for showing all the lines and creases and the deliberate contours on a Mark 1, the semi-elliptic grooves over the arches, and the front and the back one, I will say, over the wing, and even the front bumper creases. Everything is very nicely exposed, and I really do love the way a snow foam shows this. It's almost like when they do the original air wind tunnel effect, where you've got all those little tags on the car, and you can actually see the contour of the car in the wind tunnel itself. Amazing. There's a couple of bits of work that Joshua has been doing. I mean, he's obviously been getting his hands dirty underneath it. We can see in this picture it's been absolutely clean to death. Now, I will tell you now, the colour of this car, now we're actually looking at these photos, is Smokestone blue. And that is not a common Mark 1 colour. It's quite a rare colour. And I have no idea why, because it's a smashing colour. Obviously, people prefer much more safe colours like tonic blue, which is kind of like not really a controversial colour at all, but a smashing colour on Mark 1 also. But Smokestone blue is a bit of an unknown thing. It almost looks like an off shade of Panther Black, because Panther Black, if you haven't noticed, is a blue tinted black. And Smokestone blue takes that even further on the blue spectrum, and it just comes up absolutely amazingly, and it just goes really nicely with those nice clean silver Zetec alloys. Obviously, he's been around underneath, had a bit of a clean up underneath, a bit of a wire brush. It looks like it's going on down there. Nothing abnormal there. Usual Mark 1 rust around the struts. Absolutely fine whatsoever. There's a clip here he's holding, and I've got a feeling that is a clip that goes on the B-pillar trim. Am I right, Josh, or am I wrong about that? Because I'm not sure what that was, because you didn't mention that. But I've seen this picture and I'm thinking that's what it is. And then we've got, obviously, a double-din fascia, which is, we've got a nice, tasteful Sony CD player, which, quite frankly, and I believe that might be a Bluetooth, or it may not be. Some of them might be the old 3.5mm jack. which I used to do that back in the day. 3.5mm jacks are rubbish compared to Bluetooth. I don't know how we put up with them, but clearly it was a better thing to obviously plug into your phone and listen to music on your phone via your CD player. A very much a thing back about 10 years ago now, so quite a nice touch actually. And there's some parts here that I'm not quite sure of, probably suspension parts, but I will definitely ask you for a little bit more on that one. But honestly, I don't. Suspension parts are kind of part of the way with these cars. Joshua has given me a really good email, by the way. He sent all these details, and again, I'm going to say, as I did in the previous video from Adam's car, the email is so good. I'm just going to read it from his own words, and I think that's important because sometimes my interpretation of what someone has said is slightly different to how it's written, and I don't want to confuse that. And Adam's put, I fell in love with the car whilst he was cleaning it up. Very common. I love the Smokestone colour, which isn't that common. It's a 1.6 Zetec petrol 5-speed with about 94,000 miles. So really, you've got a bargain. You've got a bargain. Despite the fact that it's going to have its own little problems, but I'm pretty sure that looking back, you've got a bargain and you've taken it a massive way. It's had the cam belt done only a month ago. Fantastic, no problems there, so peace of mind. And a few other bits have been done to it. It's not that safe a car though, as it doesn't have ABS and the leather seats don't have airbags. Yes. Mark 1s are not well equipped. It's just a thing with Mark 1s. They just are not well equipped. Apart from the top models or as an optional extra, ABS was not a thing on Mark 1s. So it was definitely a case of try not to crash drum brakes at the rear. I'm going to really put a lot of time and money in these next years as I want to hold on to the car for as long as possible. It's so comfortable and I'm always comparing it to my sister's Mark 6 Fiesta, winding her up saying how my car has needed less work than hers. That's quite an interesting point. Now, a Mark 6 Fiesta, I believe that would be the 2002 to 2008 Fiesta, unless you're referring to the Mark 7 Fiesta in the UK, of which I refer to as a Mark 6, just to clarify that one. Either car. I'm not a massive fan of the Fiesta from this time, to be honest. I think the Mark 4 and what is known as the Mark 5, the facelifted version, quite frankly, is the last of the old school Fiestas, and I prefer them, but each to their own. And he says, I'm trying to make it OEM plus. He's got ST170 wheels, which we're going to look at in a second. He's got the ST170 door handles, nice touch to add, as the text on mine had faded. They all fade. Those lock, that text that says lock on the inside of the handle, they always fade. It's just a thing. I prefer mine to completely vanish because you either want it there or you don't. You don't want it faded. It looks a bit rubbish. You've got the US rear lights, which I've done as well, so I know exactly what you're looking at. And clear indicators. Again, I've done that. It's a Mark III Mondeo thing. Mark III Mondeos had the clear side indicators. So a lot of people have sussed that they actually look good on Mark 1s. And on a deep dark colour like Panther Black or Smokestone Blue, they look great. They look really smart and in keeping. The orange indicators are OEM, but for me, I don't think they look very nice, especially on a Panther Black. I've never liked the orange indicators, but I've gone OEM instead of the clear, but I think it's a fantastic option. Now, I can only assume there was some sort of accident. I'm assuming that. You didn't put that in the email, Adam, but I'm assuming that was some sort of accident with the back door, hence why you've actually got a new driver's door. I mean, this side here, that's had a bit of a bang on that side. Assuming, was the car like that when you first bought it, or did that happen as an accident later on? But either way, showing the capabilities of a Mark 1 to carry another door is it's quite compact. That's wicked. Now, I know now that you can fit a door in a Mark 1. I actually haven't tried that out with my Mark 1. I've tried loads of other things, but never a door. So that's worthwhile thinking about, actually, that you can actually carry a door in a Mark 1. Very good idea. And obviously a replacement wing as well, a second-hand wing of I presume, the same colour, if the photo is not mistaken. Now, he did have a bit of a problem. And this is something that I found quite curious when I looked at the photo. And as you can see here, we have a quick, clear, heated windscreen that is clearly not functioning properly, because we've got the two sections in the middle that are being cleaned, but the outer sections are not. That's very curious, because the way a Mark 1 heated windscreen, a genuine windscreen, works is that there were two circuits, one for one side and one for the other. And it's quite common for either both of them to fail or just one of them. So you get one side and not the other. But what's happened here is the center section is kind of working, but the outer sections are not. Now, I have to bed the question, Josh. I don't think that is an original windscreen, because the aftermarket ones tend to go in strip circuits. So basically, you can lose one or two lines, but have the rest of the car exactly in the way that the heated rear window works with those lines. You can lose one or two, but the others in between them are perfectly fine. It's just individual lines. So if there's a break in that wire, it's just that line that's broken. But what's happened here is we've lost about 6 wires on one side and probably another 6 almost identical on the mirror side of the other side of the windscreen. So that's quite interesting, but I'm pretty certain that would be an aftermarket one. Let me know if it is, Josh, because I've got a feeling it is, because I've never seen a genuine one not work like that before. And if it is or isn't, you can get aftermarket heated windscreens for them. That's not a problem. It's not a problem. There's plenty around. And here we are. We have got the ST170 wheels that he has added, and there's a few problems with these wheels that I personally encountered when I bought a set. They corrode really badly. They do not like build-ups of brake dust over the years. The brake dust just seems to eat the lacquer and the finish, and they corrode really badly, and it's very common for them to need a refurb every so often. I don't know why, but they were never made to the same quality as all the standard sort of wheels that you get on like LXs and Zetecs and Gears. There's just more of an issue on these. And secondly, the hubcaps, they never sit properly. The clips just go in them, and they sit rather proud of the wheel, and it looks stupid. And they are ridiculously expensive to buy brand new. So I didn't fit mine. I actually fitted out some aftermarket black ones on the inside of mine. I didn't bother. But having a good refurb is always a good idea. But God, you've got a set, and as long as they're not buckled, all good. And they're still relatively cheap, ST170 alloys. And really, honestly, we've got a couple of photos to finish showing off the US spec rear lights that I really think look good. I think they look good. I think it's a nice modification that looks smart. It looks classy as well. It looks everything that I would like on a modification on a Mark 1. Obviously, we've got some clear side repeaters that you can only just see on this picture, but the paintwork is amazing. And obviously, if you've not noticed, clear front indicator lenses in the front bumper. I prefer the clear ones to the orange ones, and they definitely matter. If you've got to do the clear side repeaters, you've got to do the ones in the front bumper as well. On a pre-facelift, that's possible. Unfortunately, on a facelift, you're stuck with the orange ones that are stuck as part of the headlight assembly. But these are wicked pictures. He does seem to have a problem with his speedometer, and this is quite common. Usually it's down to damp, it could be a bad earth, sometimes it's bad soldered joints. I would just clean your earth points and then see if that improves the situation. Put one of those damp traps. I've got one in my Focus Mark 1. It has been witnessed on several of my videos, and that's why I've got it, and has been an improvement on mine. Mine has occasionally done the dash thing, but honestly, it's really nothing. And obviously, we may occasionally have the odd bit of mismatched trim. And what's happened here, Josh, is I've done exactly the same thing with mine. Your trim, the colour of that bottom piece of trim, the long one, is midnight black. But it's not black, it's grey. It should be called midnight grey. I don't know why they called it black for. And what you have got is a deep charcoal piece of trim instead, and it's not the same, and obviously it's a complete colour difference, but you wouldn't know that by knowledge. It's just something people have made a mistake on down the years. I don't know why Ford did it. They should have just had a standard one colour trim, but obviously not. And I suspect that might have been off a gear model. Oh, actually, saying that, it can't be, because it's gear models were only available as a 5-door. So that has come off, potentially, it would have come off possibly a Zetec or an ST170. Most likely an ST170 in hindsight, but there were different coloured trims even for a Zetec model. But something that's unique to a 3-door, those two pieces of trim, unfortunately. And I actually have got a single piece of trim, but I don't know why I've got it, because I can't use it in my own car. And we have a photo of a wheel alignment being carried out. And as many of us know, if you have got some original arms with the original camber bolts, they will be seized as hell. And adjusting the camber is impossible on the back wheels, so only the front ones can be adjusted. That is the advice that I was given many years ago by my garage, is to have them changed and have new bolts, because then you can actually adjust the camber. If you can actually unseize them and manage to change the wheel alignment at the back, you're very lucky on those, because they usually snap at the slightest sign of force. So we can see the improvements there that Joshua has made over the last few years, and it's just a testament to hard work and patience and learning from somebody else as you go along. I mean, he's just written in the email, he got back from a weekend away, a 3-hour trip from Bristol to Brighton. He didn't stop, and the car couldn't be any more perfect and reliable. His dad suggested getting the train, as he didn't have breakdown cover on his insurance, but he was happy to prove him that there was nothing to worry about, and he's forever grateful to have it, and it shows. And you put a lot of love into that car, and I always say that a car will reward you for the love you give it. They do need looking after. They are not cars that needed looking after many years ago, hence why they were the perfect banger car. Run it into the ground after many years and get another one. But they now have got to an age where they do need looking after, I'm afraid. And that's why the car movement of the Mark 1 community has kind of changed. All the people that really don't want to look after them, they've moved on to younger cars. But the people that actually see them for what they are and appreciate them, they have done the kind of work that Joshua has shown in this video. And he just finishes off by saying, I'm going to try and get a lot of work done, including mainly the bottom. He wants the bottom of the car in a really clean state. He would love to buy a sandblasting cabinet so he can restore parts with an air compressor. So would I. And I tell you what, I looked at this and I just thought, you know what, I need another garage as a workshop. It's really true. You start buying stuff like that, parts washers and blasting cabinets. You think, well, I've got the room. I'd like a bush. I like a really a hydraulic press. A good one, not a cheap one off eBay, a 20-30 ton hydraulic press, so I can do all my bushes. I can do it all in one situ, but it's just so expensive. It's the initial cost and the space of having it, and plus things like that, you've got to drill it into the floor, and it's especially a press. But he'd love to do more DIY on it though, getting the engine bay cleaned up with some fresh paint and bring the car back to life, which would make him very happy indeed. He's not too good with paint. Don't worry, I'm exactly the same. And yeah, basically, if he has actually done a bit of a shout out for another YouTube channel called RRC Restoration, which has some very interesting videos. I did not know about that channel. I'm going to check them out because I'm all for learning new things, and I'm not great at paint and bodywork, but I would like to learn to weld in the least, welding patches. It's the initial cost of buying a welder, I suppose, and practice. No doubt that will come to pass soon. But this is an amazing car. I mean, I'm just going to show you again some more pictures, really. He absolutely loves this car. And Josh absolutely shows. And this is the kind of thing that inspires other people to get cracking. I say you buy a car in, rough condition that have been sitting for a couple of years, and you buy it for absolutely nothing, do it up, and you're left with a gem. And oh yeah, I can relate to that with my 45 Project Beatrix. Exactly the same, laid up for 2 years, moss grown everywhere, and most people would just take one look at it and think it's not worth it. and we know it's worth it. And I would definitely, if I saw a Mark 1 in this situation, I would definitely inquire after it, basically break my bank a couple of times. But Josh, keep doing what you're doing, just small jobs here and there. If it needs to be done, get it done. And overall, then in the long term, you'll be fine. But the best thing to do is just not cheapen out. Don't cheapen out on cheap parts. Do it properly. Get really good parts, because you want to keep it long term. You've already got that mindset, so you know where you're going. It's how to get there, and how you get there is doing proper jobs with proper parts and genuine parts. If you can, can't get genuine parts, get really good aftermarket parts. Not the cheapest, not the second cheapest, maybe a bit above that, and you're okay. So anyway, guys, I'm going to leave this here with what is quite a rare colour for Mark 1. I'm going to leave this here with a car that has been absolutely loved to pieces throughout its life by a fantastic owner and many owners who I'm getting to know. And I love doing these videos because I've got to know 4 people and their relationship to their cars via all this, basically all this work, and serve you. You've got to know them as well. So take care, guys. I will see you, Joshua, at some point in the future, I hope. And I will see the rest of you in yet another Mark 1 community video. Take care.